Good evening. Can I bring the committee to order, please? Thank you. Let me just. Sorry, we're all going digital now, so we're a little bit. I'm trying to make sure I've got everything in the order. It's usually easier with a bit of paper in front of me that I can just go. Okay. Anyway, a warm welcome to those attending and our viewers watching live on the council YouTube channel Hillingdon, London. The agenda is on the website, and if you click on it, also the addendums on there. My name's Councillor Higgins. I'm the chairman of this committee. Detailed business to be considered are shown in the agenda, copies of which, as I said, are accessible on live and live broadcast. For those present in the room intend to speak, please note that you will be filmed, and any statement you make will be recorded and made public. A reminder to anybody speaking today that your voice will only be audible online if the microphone is switched on. We're not expecting a drill, so if the alarm goes off, please follow officers outside of the building. For those in the audience with phones or mobiles, can you please make sure they're turned to silent or turned off? As you can see, we are trying to go all digital in this council to save some trees, so you have to bear with us with the technical issues. We have attendees tonight are Councillor Adam Bedham, my Vice Chairman, Councillor Keith Burrows, Councillor Elizabeth Garlick, Councillor Mand, Councillor Singh. Welcome, thank you very, very much for coming. Officers attend is Ed Loughton, Area Planning Service Manager, Kate Crosby, Area Planning Service Manager.
Not really.
Oh, no. Mike Kemp, Deputy Team Leader, Dr. Alan Tilley, Transport Aviation Team Manager, Natalie Fairclough, my legal advisor, and Nisha Teji, Democratic Service, is already telling me what to do. So that's fantastic. We'll go straight on to the agenda. The agenda, apologies for absence.
Apologies from Councillor Chanda.
Thank you. Any declaration of interest in matters coming before the meeting? Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Chair. So I declare a pecuniary interest in items 8 and 9 as I own a property on the St Andrews Park development, so I will leave the meeting after agenda item 7.
That'd be lovely. Thank you very much. There's no matters that have been notified or advanced or urgent. To confirm that all items of business are in part 1, nothing to be considered in part 2. Okay, so we'll go straight to item 6, which is Swakely, which is UK. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Councillor. The first application on tonight's agenda is a householder application at 155 Swakeleys Road in Ickenham. Okay, this is a householder application for a part single-storey, part two-storey rear extension, a first floor side extension, conversion of the attached garage to habitable accommodation, a replacement porch, and to convert the roof space to habitable accommodation involving roof lights and a rear dormer. It's important to point out that the same proposal before us was previously granted planning permission in August 2021. However, the development had not commenced before the permission expired, hence this application has been submitted seeking a new planning permission. It's been referred to the Planning Committee as a petition item and is recommended for approval. So if I just go through the drawings here, so here's the location plan. You can kind of see the outline of the existing dwelling here, and then there's also a pedestrian walkway route here between the application site and number 157 Swakeleys Road. This is the constraints plan. Okay, on the block plan here, you can see this is the proposed extensions here, and you can't go see up close, but these lines here are the 45-degree lines, indicating that there will not be an impact on light to neighbouring windows. Okay, this is what the existing plans of what the dwelling currently looks like, and proposed existing plans, proposed floor plans here. So you can see the first floor side extension, the two-storey rear, single-storey rear, and then roof space accommodation here. And that's the elevations as well. Okay, this is, I guess just for reference, this is the previously approved scheme as well in 2021. So if we just flick back between them. You can see it's the same proposal. Okay, I've also included the tree survey plan here, and the site itself is subject to a TPO. And if I just flick through to this plan here, they are proposing to remove the cypress tree in the corner here, but the cypress tree itself isn't subject to the TPO. And you can see here they've just proposed some protective fencing and ground cover as well. So if it was approved, there'd be a condition requiring compliance with the tree protection plan. Okay, a bird's eye view of the site. Here you can see it has a large garden, and then this is the front garden that's paved with hard standing currently for car parking. There's photos, the front of the site. Oops. Sorry, let me just... Okay, the rear elevation photos there. Okay, this is the walkway in between. So the application site is this one here, and then number 157 is on this side. Again, that's just the proposed elevations and their previously approved elevations. Okay, officers consider that the application complies with the development plan and no material considerations indicate that a contrary decision should be taken. Consequently, the application is recommended for approval subject to the conditions set out in Appendix 1 of the committee report. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, we have a petition on this. Rachel Garside, are you in the audience? If you'd like to come on down, sit in the seat. Okay, you've got 5 minutes. We have a traffic light system. So green means that you've had 4 minutes. Amber will mean you have 1 minute left. And when it's red, I will stop you. Please don't be offended. I do that for everybody. You're not special. So for that reason, I just want to make sure that I'm not everybody. I try to be as polite and have good manners as possible, but I will stop you. Okay? So whenever you're ready, press the button on the microphone and we will time you.
The button, yes? Right. To be quite honest, it won't take 5 minutes because I'm completely out of my depth here, but what is rather interesting, and I really don't know why this is going through, because on Friday morning last week, the new buyers came round to my house, basically to introduce themselves, and they more or less said that the application for this proposal was not going to go through. They said the original proposal had been withdrawn and the original buyers had pulled out, and therefore they were the second people coming through. When I said that I'd objected to it, we talked everything through, and they just said, well, we obviously need lodger accommodation, which I can completely appreciate. They both work from home 4 days a week. They've got 2 children. They also have got family coming from India, staying 2-3 months of the year, and therefore they want the accommodation for them. Fair enough. I just think, though, that this house has been there since 1952. It's a lovely, comfortable house. It's the original occupiers had 3 children, and it was a comfortable house. What I'm objecting to really is the volume and density of the new proposal. I just think that it just does not fit in with our environment. I did say to them that above the garage, there's a double-storey, fine, you've got to live and let live. But what I'm really opposing is the 2-storey rear extension, because that would really impact upon myself and also Mrs. Padham on 153. It means that we would not have the light and also the view that we've had for all of these years. Personally, for the extension on the garage, I would prefer something elevated, something that would mean that I could still see some of the sky and vegetation, but otherwise it's just going to look like a climbing wall. And I just feel that it's just not in keeping with the environment. I've contacted my local councillors, and they did say when they got into, when they were talking about the election, that they were going to try and retain the character of Ickenham, and I think these sort of overdevelopments are spoiling what we've enjoyed for an awful long time. And also, a lot of the people that I'd petitioned, that I've been talking to, they've all moved out of the overpopulated areas of London to come to Ickenham, because we've got the vegetation, we've got the spaces, we've got the lovely environment, and these sort of overdevelopments are going to set a precedent which is not very good for future developments, and it really is just spoiling everything. And I've been in a road today, Warren Road. There are some houses there, they're just getting, it looks as though they've been pulled out of the sky and just set into a property, and they're just too big for the size, and that's what I'm objecting about. Okay?
Thank you very much.
It didn't take 5 minutes, did it?
No, it didn't. You did very well. Thank you
Thank
very much. Just one second. Does any councillors like to have a question? Yeah, please.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you. You did a very good job, not out of your depth at all, very clear and coherent. I just wanted to double check. Did you object via petition to the previous application?
No.
No.
There's been other applications, and I said to the lovely people, I said, so long as you stay here forever, I will agree to everything. But then they told me they were leaving, and then of course this monstrosity came through, and I'm just not prepared to accept it. And that is what Balbia, Mrs. Padham, she also said, I'm just not prepared to accept this. It's just going to block out all of our light. And she was also talking about the environment, the sewage, the water, the electricity, everything else. We just think that it's just too big. And the house itself, at the end of the day, there are other properties in Ickenham that are 6 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, everything else, but they're just not in Swakeleys Road. They're in the roads with bigger houses. So why not buy one of those?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? You may return to your seat. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done. Okay, is the applicant, the agent here, Mr. Dillon or Mr. Khan? Would you like to come forward? And can you introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, I'm Mrs. Dillon.
Okay,
Applicant.
thank you. So, you heard what I said before, you got 5 minutes, yeah?
Yeah.
So whenever you're ready.
Okay. Right. I'll keep this brief. I won't repeat the details already well addressed within the Planning Officer's report, as it comprehensively responds to the concerns raised in the petition. Instead, I'd like to focus on a few key points. Firstly, the proposed works are entirely in keeping with the character of Swakeleys Road. Many nearby properties, including those adjacent and directly opposite, have undergone similar extensions and modernisations. These improvements have not only become part of the visual fabric of Ickenham, but have also contributed to the rising value and appeal of the neighbourhood. Denying this application would risk creating inconsistency in a road that has otherwise evolved in a uniform and balanced way. What's more, it appears that we see over 40 signatures on this petition. Of course, initially we didn't have any. It does seem that there are a few that have maybe influenced others, as there are other homes on the road opposite that have undergone similar kind of modernisations. The home is being designed for a growing family who intend to live here for a long term. The close proximity to local schools and amenities make it a practical and appealing location for family life. We're not seeking to introduce anything out of character or excessive, just a functional, respectful enhancement of an existing home, entirely in line with what is already common with the road. In summary, we just respectfully ask the committee to support this application, as it reflects the natural progression and evolving character of the neighbourhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Has anybody any questions? No? You may take your seat. Thank you. What I'll do now is I'll just get officers just to clear up a few things that were in the petition and from the applicant. So, Katie, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I think one of the first one I'll address is the light impact. So as I showed a little bit earlier, there is this drawing here. So I guess in terms of the first stage of assessing whether there is a potential impact on light, sunlight, daylight to a neighbouring property, is if the development intercepts, say, yes, a 45-degree line from the neighbouring window. So you can see the 45-degree lines are drawn on here and it clears it. You'll also probably note that they're slightly drawn, they've actually been drawn on the corners of the neighbouring dwellings rather than the windows that would be slightly along more, so it even a greater clearance effectively. So in terms of sunlight, daylight, that was considered acceptable and it wasn't necessary to request any further documentation such as a sunlight, daylight report. The second point I guess I want to emphasise is the fact that planning permission has been granted for the exact same development previously in 2021. So the local planning authority, we need to be consistent in our decision making. Since that time, there has been no change in, it's the same planning policy, so we've had no change in the policies that are applied to our assessment. And also, there's been no changes in site circumstances either that would change the assessment. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Katie. That cleared up. So, in a nutshell, it's an application that we've already approved, and it's coming back for reinstatement. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's as much as I empathise with the petitioner's sort of concerns, one of the reasons why I asked the question I did was if there was no petition or objection to the original application, and exactly the same application is brought forward again just because the 3-year validity has expired, there isn't much we as a committee can do to say no if it's already been approved previously. So on that basis, I'm happy to move officer's recommendation for approval.
Singh, do you want to? I've been proposed.
Thank you, Chair. Second, nothing in this.
Yeah,
discussing.
yeah. It's one of those things. When we've approved it, if we were then to consider to take it to refuse it, we would lose, and it would cost the council money. So, on that note, can I have a show of hands those in favour of the officer's recommendation? Thank you. That's unanimous with the people that are attending. Okay. Okay. So we go on to item 7. Katie, I think this is yours again.
Okay, item 7, just as a quick verbal update before we start. I think on the addendum it had a recommendation for approval, but this application is recommended for refusal. Okay, so the application at 90 Long Lane in Ickenham, it's proposed to demolish the existing detached dwelling on site and construct a building to accommodate 9 flats. These flats would comprise 4 3-bedroom flats and 5 2-bedroom flats. The application is presented to the Planning Committee following the receipt of 3 petitions. So there's 1 petition in support of the proposal and 2 objecting to it. A previous application was also refused by the Planning Committee in April 2024 for 6 reasons described within the committee report. So while the current application that we're assessing has sought to address these reasons, there are remaining concerns with the harmful impacts on the character of the conservation area, which is not outweighed by limited public benefits, harmful impacts on neighbouring amenity, specifically an unacceptable sense of enclosure and loss of outlook due to the height, depth and bulk of the proposed building, and also the submitted fire statement does not adequately address policy requirements. So the proposal is recommended for refusal. So if I just go through the drawings here, this is the application site, and you can see the existing footprint of the dwelling. The dwelling itself is a chalet bungalow. You'll see some photos further on in this presentation. There's a constraints plan, location plan again, block plan. Okay, so this one here is the existing proposed street scene. So it's the dwelling here at the bottom of the screen. That's the existing dwelling, and then the proposal is these 2 here, one in colour, one with the trees, one without the trees proposed. Okay, this is the proposed floor layout. Okay, this is the proposed site layout. So you can see the depth the depth of the proposed building in relation to the dwelling on this side, and then this is a flatted development on that side of the property. Okay, proposed ground floor plan. Proposed elevation, so here you get a sense of the depth and scale of the proposal. So you can see, I guess this is the rear elevation here at the bottom, and the shape of the building. Okay, proposed outbuildings and proposed outbuildings on site, so that's for cycle parking and refuse. Okay, bird's eye plan of the site, you can see here. Aerial. Okay, now I'll just quickly go through some site photos. So this here is the front of the property as seen from the street. So you can see that currently it's a shallow bungalow. This is just within the site looking back out towards the street. The rear elevation of the existing dwelling to be demolished, or proposed to be demolished. Some more photos of the neighbouring, well, there's photos of the neighbouring properties. Okay, this is the flatted development joining the site on one side, and this is a view from the residential property on the left-hand side if you're looking towards the building on Long Lane. So as you can see, the proposed building will go in this point here. That's part of the reason in terms of sense of enclosure and loss of outlook. Okay, so officers have assessed the application and recommend refusal. It's outlined at the beginning of this presentation and detailed in the committee report. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Can I call Dr. Mahmood? Would you like to come take your seat? I explained earlier. I hope
yes.
You need me to do it. That's fine. So
I think it's already on.
Fun.
Yeah, I think it's already on.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
That's
lovely.
Right.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. I've obviously objected because it's too overwhelming and it's going to have a great impact on the privacy and the quiet of my property next door, 92 Long Lane. It was previously refused, and I'm a bit amazed that the resubmission is even bigger than the original submission. So I don't know what is in the mind. You know, it's being asked for even bigger than the previous one. Now there is a constant comparison being made with the previous submitted applications granted to 88 Long Lane, but then comparison should also be made to the previous refusals for 88, 90, 92 and 94 Long Lane, which was deemed too big, and this is as big. It should also be remembered that 90A Long Lane is an additional piece of land which is between 92 and 90, which is full of trees that belongs to me, and it is going to be affected by the construction. I'm aware that there has been a report given by a surveyor, tree surveyor, and that has taken sort of notice of the trees in 90 Long Lane, but what is going to happen to 92 Long Lane trees, it doesn't cover, and we do challenge that report. The proposal is going to be a huge amount of concrete, concrete construction, height being much higher than the current bungalow. This is not in keeping with the character of the area. Plenty of windows made on the side facing 92 Long Lane, which will directly oversee 92 Long Lane, affecting privacy of 92 Long Lane enormously. There is, for example, light pollution from electric bulbs, which will be in these rooms, shining throughout the windows. There are 4 patio doors at the entrance to the flats on the rear of the property, which is being proposed. Movements in these flats will directly have a noise pollution for 92 Long Lane as well. Although 45-degree angles to preserve light have been partly maintained as per the rules, but there is no doubt that such a big property will also indirectly change the light, scenery, aerodynamics of 92 Long Lane. This is a conservation area, and view has always been that the conservation area should not be built as much. There are multiple windows and patio doors at the back which directly oversee the garden of 92 Long Lane. This breaches the privacy of the garden at 92 Long Lane as well. There will be at least 35 people living in these flats with perhaps 9 to 10 cars. This will be far too a load for this small area. The proposal of cutting 4 trees from the front and additional 2 dead trees and replacing them with new trees is clearly is going to be an unequal replacement of conservation area. New trees which will be planted will not be the same size, age or maturity. They may or may not take up at all and will take a long time to reach the size that the present trees have reached. It has been proposed by the tree surveyor that some of the trees do not have a significant bearing on the scenery of 90 Long Lane. This is incorrect, as these are tall trees and can be seen from distance as well. Removing any of these trees to create parking will have an ecological effect. We have submitted photographs of the effect of the trees as well. Finally, on 3rd September 2023, the police raided this property, 90 Long Lane, and discovered major criminal activity going on. We need to put a halt to this. The peace and quiet of the area is greatly being affected. Thank you.
Does any councillors have any questions? No, you may take your seat.
Thank you.
Just to be advised, committee, that obviously policing issues are not planning concerns, yeah? The other thing is that there was meant to be another June Rayner Residents Association of objection, but unfortunately she couldn't attend the meeting because she has a family emergency, but she submitted the letters, which I'm sure that all of you have had and received and read. Okay, now we'll go for petition in support. I've got Mr. or Mrs. Soni, if you'd like to come there, and also your agent, Peter Norman. Yeah, if you'd like to come, bring a chair. Yeah. So what I decided is I'll give you 7 minutes, okay, so you can have 3.5 each, and then is that okay? Yeah, that's what I usually do. Okay, so when you press the button, the microphone.
Okay, so my name is Anil Soni. I'm owner of 90 Long Lane, and this is Peter, my architect, who's done all the plans and that have been shared with you. I just want to recap what's been said. So the previous 6 points that were raised, we've addressed 3 of those, namely to do with the family size units, and now we've added more family units, so we've got 4 3-bedroom units. Size and scale I'll come on to, I'll speak to that in a little bit more detail, and impacts of the amenities and neighbouring dwellings, I'll speak about that as well. The harm to the trees, that's been addressed, so we've done a detailed tree survey that's been shared with you. It's been done by, I think, by Trevor Heaps, who's previously worked for the council. And the absence of the fire statement, again, I'll come on to that. So if I may go over to the size and scale of the property. So the first proposal, a reason for refusal stemmed around the perceived impact of the proposal building on the character of the area and conservation area. Following the refusal of the 2023 scheme, we discussed matters with the officers, notably how to address the concerns raised with relation to the scale. The decision was taken to reduce the bulk and massing of the building, which was done by reducing 3 elements. So that was the depth, the width, and the projection. So if I focus on the width of the building, that was reduced by 1 meter from the front, projecting element by nearly a meter, and the first and second floor elements were reduced by 1.2 meters from the rear. This has resulted in a significant reduction in bulk and massing to the building, which by all intent and purposes has resulted in greater spacing to the boundary and improving views beyond the building to the rear of the site, which only serves to demonstrate the appropriateness of this form. The dwelling within the vicinity has characterized by being set on large plots set back from the street by a good distance with limited views of the building owing to the presence of boundary treatment or landscaping. It is noticeable from an aerial perspective that many of the dwellings within this part of Long Lane span majority of the width of the plot, with number 88 and number 92 being notable examples, as you've seen. The committee report sets out that the architectural vernacular of the proposed design follows that was approved at number 88 and subsequently implemented. This building is characterized by its projected gable and spans the width of the plot whilst being set over 3 floors. The building noticeably towers over the existing dwellings at the application site, which has a lower ridge and profile. The delegated report references that the design of the dwelling and that of a single dwelling set on a generous plot and reflect existing dwellings within the conservation area. It was further considered that the development would be set within a well-landscaped setting, particularly screened by mature vegetation and notably oak trees. These elements are very much akin to what is sought under the current scheme, and we consider these to be duality in the way the two schemes are presented, both being of high architectural styling, which with respects the characteristics identified within both assessments, including visual, spacing, and landscaping features. As such, the proposal is considered to be a significant improvement to the refusal scheme in 2024 and would complement the plot and wider context of the locality and conservation area. Members are kindly requested to consider this and the neighbouring scheme, ensuring that there is consistency in the decision making.
If I can go for a second. There's a section drawing showing projection angles that was submitted with this. Can you bring that up on the screen, please?
I don't think it's not on the screen unless it was submitted as part of the petition.
But it is part of the application, so it should be on your website.
It could be on the website, but it's not on the presentation.
But it's relevant to the comments made by the objector, because it shows the actual what you can see from his side of the fence. Because there, if you go to the site plan, you'll see that there's cycle stores and a wall all the way along behind the cycle store and trees that are screening all of that from his side. When the doctor had his extension approved with conservatory facing number 90, it was made as a condition, if you would wish to look at that up, to say that that wall and the fence between 90 and 92 had to be a certain height. That wasn't that height, and the actual owner had to increase that height to actually prove what was there. There was photos submitted with that, so he was in breach of his planning for that. But the section is quite important. If it was possible to get that up, then it would help show it. Okay, so that was really the fact about the neighbours' amenities. He is definitely...
I'll stop the clock. I'll just interrupt. All members have had those documents available to you on your presentation, so then it's been available on the website if you wanted to look into further that. I'm just going to make sure that is...
Yeah.
We don't put everything on for the...
But that is particularly relevant to the objection.
The committee will be the judge whether we think that's relevant or not.
Okay.
You carry on.
Okay. The other thing that he said was that it's bigger than before. I think even the planning officer will accept that it is smaller than was at the first scheme. So that's that.
Yeah. Can I continue and I'll discuss the neighbouring amenities. So the proposed second reason for refusal relates to the potential impact for the development of the neighbouring property. It is drawn to members' attention that a sunlight and daylight report was submitted in support of this application seeking to address the concerns of the previous scheme. Officers have commented that the scheme has demonstrated that there would be no loss of light or amenity to the neighbouring properties. It is noted that officers raised concerns relating to the impact of the development on the neighbouring windows located to the flank elevations, resulting in appearing overbearing to these habitable rooms. The layouts of the neighbouring buildings were both considered at the time of the design brief, and it's worth highlighting that these windows are identified as secondary windows as per approved plans. This is a key fact that officers have failed to highlight within the written response. The primary window serving the habitable room face to either forward or rear of the site, of which none of these windows are identified by the officers as being of any concern. The side...
1 minute left.
Okay. Your time's up.
Okay.
Does any councillors have any questions for the petitioner applicant? No? You may take your seats. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will let officers respond to some of the remarks made by the petitioner and the...
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. In respect to the comments by Dr. Mahmood, there were a few points that I pulled out to respond to. So I guess the first one was that the concerns that the proposal, the construction would affect trees on his site. So in terms of the tree report has been submitted and the trees, it is considered acceptable. If it was granted planning permission, which it is recommended for refusal this evening, we would require a construction management plan to ensure that anything, outside of the site is suitably protected. There will be a tree report on a tree protection plan on this condition as well. In terms of overlooking, I think in the report it does note that the side windows, if it was granted planning permission, they would be obscured glazed and partially fixed shut, so it's only opening at 1.8 metres and higher, and that is because all the habitable rooms, they are secondary windows on the site, so they are served by windows either to the front of the site or to the rear of the site. In terms of overlooking from windows to the rear of the property, this is similar to other dwellings within the street. There are a significant amount of two-storey dwellings and also the flatted development where it is pretty typical in a residential area to be able to look out the rear upper floors of your dwelling. In terms of noise and light pollution, this is considered, in planning terms, it's not considered to be beyond what you could expect from residential accommodation. What else was mentioned? I think in terms of the trees that are being removed, the principal ones that the tree officer was concerned about is the category A and B trees at the front, so they are being retained, so that's the difference from the previous application. In terms of the comments by Mr. Soni and Mr. Norman, I think we don't have that section showing the outbuildings, which is the refuse storage and the tree storage, and then also some planting on the boundary. But I guess what you can see here from the proposed elevations, the scale of the building is significant. So even if you were in the neighbouring property, you'd still see these above, depending on where you were in the garden, you would still see the proposed development. And we do consider it has an impact on outlook and sense of enclosure. And in terms of the question of, I think both petitioners said that the proposal is bigger and smaller. In terms of the scale, it has been reduced, as the applicant said. But in terms of bigger, I'm making an assumption here that the dwelling sizes are bigger, so they are proposing now for, family-sized 3-bed dwellings and 5 2-bed dwellings. So I'm going to assume, make an assumption that that's where the bigger scheme has come from. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kate. I think that's cleared up a lot of things. Obviously, who's going to go first? Councillor Bennett?
Thank you, Chair. I remember when this came through just over a year ago. I remember hearing from the applicant and the petitioner then. I mean, to me, it still looks huge. 19 windows on each side, if you include the dormers. 4 huge double patios at the back, plus another 6 triple windows. It's hard to disagree with what the officers have put in the report. Ultimately, if we want to go against officers' recommendation on this committee, and I'm not aware of us ever doing so in the 3 years I've been on planning, we need to have very, very sound reasons, and I don't think that we've been given those tonight. So I'm happy to propose that we go with officers' recommendation to refuse the application.
Thank you, Councillor Burrows.
I agree with Councillor Bennett. Officers have outlined quite clearly the reasons for refusal, and therefore it's been proposed by Councillor Bennett, and I second that proposal to refuse.
Thank you. I'm proposed and seconded. Can I show of hands all in favour of the officer's recommendation? That's unanimous. Thank you. So that's been refused. If you wish to leave, you can. Just please do it quietly, because we have some agenda. And we will now depart from Councillor Bennett. Right. We're going to take 8 and 9 together. I hope no one objects to that. One presentation and then we can make our decisions from that. So over to you and welcome again.
Thank you, Chair. This application, two applications before you, items 8 and 9, consists of two applications. So you've got a hybrid planning application, which is comprising an element in outline where permission sought for residential, that's up to 356 homes, and flexible commercial uses sought under Class E, including a space fixed for use as a convenience store, provision of landscaping, public open space, and the retention of St Andrew's Gate. The application also includes detailed or full planning permission, which is sought for the change of use of the Grade 2 listed former cinema building for use as a gym, alongside the provision of a cafe, and works to repair and refurbish the building, as well as the provision of parking and landscaping. Item 9 before you is an application for listed building consent, which relates to various internal and external works to the former cinema building to facilitate its use as a gym and cafe. So this is the site location plan. So the site is 1.8 hectares in total area and forms part of the St Andrews Park site, and that's the former RAF Uxbridge site. So the site lies on the eastern edge of Uxbridge Town Centre, is separated from the High Street by Hillingdon Road and Park Road. The site's the last parcel of the St Andrews Park site, has not been previously developed or does not benefit from extant planning permission. The site remains allocated for development under the Local Plan Part 2, although the development context has shifted since planning permission was originally granted for the St Andrews Park site. So previous permissions for office and theatre uses on this part of the site have not come forwards. So this is the site constraints plan. So as noted, the former cinema building is Grade 2 listed. There's other listed buildings surrounding the site, which include St Andrew's Church, former Regal Cinema and the Civic Centre. There's St Andrew's Gate on the site, which is locally listed. You've got the Mons Barracks building, which is to the east of the site, which is also locally listed. So the site does not fall within a conservation area, although the old Uxbridge conservation area extends just to the north of the Civic Centre. So this location plan shows the division of the outline and full elements. Somewhat hard to make out from this plan, but the detailed elements are hatched in red. It's in the southern part of the site. The remainder is in outline. So this is a bird's eye view of the site. So this is somewhat outdated in the fact that it doesn't show the town centre west development to the east of the site, also development to the northeast of the site. This aerial image is probably clearer. It shows the town centre west development just behind the site. It's development under construction. So the site comprises of the areas of open space adjoining Park Road and Hillingdon Road, and the former cinema building, which is on the right hand side of the image. The site's behind these hoardings adjoining Park Road and Hillingdon Road. So some street view images of the site. So this is the view from the roundabout adjoining Park Road and Hillingdon Road. So St Andrew's Gate is visible on the left hand side of the image. On the right hand side of the image is the back of the former cinema building. You can see the horse chestnut tree just in front of the former cinema building. This image is taken from the corner of St Andrews Road and the Park Road roundabout. So this shows the northern section of the site, town centre west development, just visible to the rear of the site, which is sat behind the hoardings. This photo shows the former cinema building. So on the right hand side is the front elevation of the building. On the left hand side, this elevated visual image showing the rear elevations. The section of the building with the roof missing is the former squash courts, which are proposed to be converted into the cafe use and re-roofed. So in relation to the outline parts of the application, all matters would be reserved. However, future reserved matters applications are subject to compliance with a series of parameter plans as well as a submitted design code. So the parameter plans are required to demonstrate that the scope of the development on the site is deliverable and also to enable a thorough assessment of the scheme. So the first of the parameter plans, which is before you, shows the location of the parcels of land which would contain buildings. So this is split into zones A, B and C, which are shaded in blue on these plans. So parameter plan 2 is showing the distribution of ground floor uses across the outlined sections of the site. So the yellow sections here show the distribution of the commercial spaces. The orange area is showing the area fixed for use as a convenience store. The blue line areas are the residential uses, and the distribution of uses is intended to ensure that active frontages are provided to all areas of public realm adjoining the new areas of landscaping that will be shown on a later slide. So it's also to ensure that there's provision of a mix of uses which is consistent with the site's the vision for the site as an extension to the town centre. This is the upper floor parameter plan, so this is wholly residential. And this is the building heights parameter plan. So this shows the distribution of the building heights in terms of stories and also the overall height in terms of metres and AOD. So building zone B, which is a standalone building, this would be the tallest building on the site. That's the building which is coloured blue in the centre of the outline part of the site. So as noted in the report addendum, the height of this building has been reduced by 0.76 metres. That's to respond to concerns raised by the MOD, that the previous height of the building would have encroached into the OLS for RAF Northolt. So I can advise that the MOD have now removed their objection to the developments based on the reduction in height that has been secured through the latest revision to this plan. So the parameter plan shows the variation in height and massing across the site, which is necessary to ensure articulation in the different elements. This is apparent in the visuals which I'll show in the later slides. So whilst the buildings are relatively high, it's considered that the height would be commensurate with the scale of the development on the adjoining town centre west site, and it's appropriate for what is a town centre gateway site. There's a clear policy emphasis in the local plan, London plan and MPBF on ensuring that an appropriate density of developments achieved on all sites. Is considered in this instance that development would achieve an appropriate density, and therefore this is another driver behind the height of the scheme. The development would deliver a policy compliant level of affordable housing, namely 35% of habitable rooms within the development and an appropriate mix of unit sizes. Scale of the development's been carefully assessed in terms of the impact on existing residents and future residents of the buildings under construction on the adjacent site. This is set out comprehensively in the report. So the report also sets out an assessment of the impact of the scope of the outlined development and public views and the setting of the adjoining heritage assets. So where there is less than substantial harm identified to heritage assets, it's considered that this would be demonstrably outweighed by the public benefits of the scheme. Moving on to Parameter Plan 5, this shows the distribution of landscaping and public realm within the scheme. So this consists primarily of two areas. There's Squadron Square, which is at the centre of the site. This is indicated by the green symbol on the plans. So this would be a large public square. There's Roundale Place, which is located to the north and northeast of the cinema building. This would consist of a public park and children's play area. The plans show the retention of the existing horse chestnut tree to the north of the cinema, as well as the provision of new street tree planting along the road frontages of Park Road and Hillingdon Road. The green lines in the centre of the development blocks show the provision of private podium gardens. It's considered that acceptable degree of public open space and private space for future residents, including play provision, is set out within the parameter plans for the landscaping and public realm. This is the access and movement parameter plan. So the hatched areas in the centre of the development zones show the location of parking that would be provided below blocks A and C for the residential uses. These parking areas would be accessed via St Andrews Road and the Spine Roads respectively. A maximum quantum of 0.3 spaces would be provided for the residential uses, which on balance is considered acceptable, accounting for the site's town centre location and agreed PTAL rating of 4. Car park management plan would be required by condition. It would be expected that car parking would be allocated to the larger units provided within the development, and parking for the commercial units would be split between on-street parking and parking provided in the car park to the south of the gym. Provision is set out to provide policy compliant levels of cycle parking within the development that would be secured by condition. An active travel contribution or financial contribution of £100,000 would be secured through Section 106 agreement. This would be directed towards improvement works to the adjacent roundabout to improve pedestrian access to the town centre from the site. This is in addition to contributions that have been sought previously under the original outline application for St Andrews Park. And this shows the landscaping plan for the site, so the distribution of the areas of public open space and the areas of landscaping proposed within the detailed elements of the site to the south of the cinema building. And this is the general landscape arrangement plan for the detailed elements of the consent, showing the gym building and surrounding parking and landscaping. These are some visuals of the development. It's worth stressing that these are indicative, and this is based on how the scheme may look in accordance with the parameter plans and the design code. So the first slide here shows a view of the western side of the site. This is from the Park Road High Street roundabout. So it shows Block B, in the centre, behind the renovated St Andrews Gate. Blocks A and C either side of Block B. This shows a street image from the Park Road frontage, so it shows the intention to provide landscaping and greenery to the public realm to improve what's quite a hard engineered public realm at the present time. This shows a view of what Squadron Square could potentially look like as an area of public square and an area of public open space. This shows the proposed pocket park to the north of the cafe building. It's Roundale Place. These are elevations of the former cinema building, so it's showing the renovations that will be carried out within the detailed element, and also the listed building consent application. So this comprises of the replacement of existing windows, doors, additions of new openings, restoration of the historic fabric, and works to facilitate the building's change of use to a gym and cafe. The application for listed building consent also contains a series of internal works which are set out fairly comprehensively in the report. So the overall package of works and the proposal to secure a viable use for the building is considered to be a significant public benefit of the scheme in terms of bringing back a heritage asset that's identified as being at risk back into viable use and providing much needed repairs to the fabric and condition of the building. It's just running through the proposed floor plans for the cinema building. So that's showing the gym use on the right hand side, make up the majority of the footprint. The cafe use is on the left hand side of this image, and the upper floor elements of the building which are consisting mainly of ancillary spaces. These are some visuals of the front of the former cinema building, showing the main entrance to the gym use. Finally, an image of the rear of the building, showing the proposed cafe use and how this sits in relation to the proposed new area of public realm to the north. So in summary, both the hybrid planning and listed building applications are recommended for approval. They're considered to comply with the policy provisions of the MPPF, London Plan and Local Plan. Proposals will bring forward the effective use of a prominent town centre brownfield site to provide up to 356 homes, delivering policy compliant levels of affordable housing, up to 1,000 square metres of commercial space, 2,500 square metres of public open space, and key benefit would be the works to provide a viable use for the listed building, works to repair the fabric and condition in the building. The design code and accompanying parameter plans are considered to set appropriate controls to ensure that the future outline elements of the scheme are delivered to high design standards. An appropriate strategy is set out to secure policy compliant levels of urban greening, biodiversity net gain, sustainability within the scheme. So both applications are recommended for approval subject to the conditions and the heads of terms relevant to the hybrid application. Just in terms of further representations, as mentioned earlier in the presentation, we have had the removal of the objection from the Ministry of Defence following the revised height parameter plan. We have received one additional letter of objection from a member of the public. This is in relation to the removal of trees along the Burton Road frontage. We have also received an email from the GLA raising some minor points which officers consider can be addressed following the committee. So that's it.
Thank you, Mike. It's very thorough. Okay, so Councillor Burrows.
Thank you, Chair. I think, like a lot of people that live in Hillingdon, we would welcome the completion of this last pocket on this site, but probably not as much as those that actually live on the site currently, to be honest. The reports are very thorough, and therefore I would like to propose that we move forward with officers' recommendations. And it will be good to see the cinema actually being protected, being brought back to a good quality standard before the elements do destroy it totally beyond that point of return. So I therefore propose we accept officers' recommendations.
Okay, thank you. So I've got proposal for, can I use your for both? I have to have two votes, so do you mind if I use proposal for the listed part and to the normal one? Is that okay? Okay, fine. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, officers. Actually, they covered everything in the report. So, I'm second for the both 8 and 9.
For both of them, yeah?
Yes.
Thank you very much. So I'm proposing second for both of them. So you're voting on both elements. So can I have a show of hands? Those in favour? That's unanimous. So that's been approved. Both of them, Anisha. Okay, so thank you very much for this evening, and I think we're done, aren't we? We are. See, there you go. Early night for you all. Getting tied back for the football.